In early 280 BC, King Pyrrhus of Epirus sailed his large army to southern Italy to deal with the expansion of a new growing power in the region, Rome. After landing, King Pyrrhus began to militarize Tarentum and deal with any political enemies there, while the Romans did the same in the cities under their control. Preparing for the coming conflict, Consul Publius Valerius Laevinus was given command of 4 Roman legions and was ordered to march directly on Tarentum. Pyrrhus's army confronted and thus defeated the Romans near the Greek city of Heraclea. Pyrrhus then rebuilt his army and marched on Rome, but was unsuccessful in capturing the city due to its high walls and strong garrison. After retreating southwards, Pyrrhus's army was pursued by 2 new Roman armies, under the command of Publius Decius Mus and Publius Sulpicius Saverio. The consuls did not want to confront the Greek king after their heavy losses at Heraclea, though the Romans had their hands forced when King Pyrrhus began assaulting important Roman towns and cities on the Apulian coast. The 2 armies came face to face near the Roman town of Asculum. The Roman army had 4 allied legions and was drawn up in the Roman Republic's traditional manipular fashion. Velite skirmishers led the lines, with young Hastati soldiers making up the front ranks of infantry. Right behind the Hastati were the more experienced Principe infantry, and finally, the veteran Triari made up the rear lines of infantry. Additional Italian allied troops were stationed on the flanks and rear in support of the main force. In total, the Romans had around 40,000 legionnaires. In addition, 2,500 Roman and allied cavalry were placed on the flanks. The force which Pyrrhus led from Epirus to southern Italy consisted mainly of Macedonian and Epirote Sarissa pikemen, a few thousand cavalry, a handful of war elephants, with the remainder of his force made up of Italian mercenaries and Greek hoplites from the allied city of Tarentum. The Greek battle formation was set up as follows. On the right center of Pyrrhus's army were his most elite soldiers, the Macedonian Phalangites. On the left side were Greek Sarissa pikemen, supported by Italian Samnite infantry, whom were equipped as hoplites. At the very center of the Greek formation was a combination of Greek hoplites from Epirus and Tarentum, with a host of mercenary Italian soldiers from across the southern Italian region. Pyrrhus then had all of his cavalry stationed on both flanks, with skirmishers and Eastern war elephants behind the cavalry to offer support. Both forces were reported to have fielded an army of equal size, around 40,000 men or so. As the armies lined up for battle, they matched each other's formation with infantry stationed at the center and cavalry spread out onto the flanks. The Roman infantry formed up into the standard triplex axis formation at the center, making their lines less deep than their Greek counterparts, although it allowed for fresh Roman soldiers in reserve to replenish their depleted frontal battle lines. The Romans, eager to put an end to Pyrrhus's Italian campaign, marched forward to give battle.
You know, I won't be troubling Charon, not today. I've been thinking.
The battle began when the Roman Velite skirmishers advanced forward to unleash javelins on the Greek lines. The Velites fell back and the Roman legionaries advanced forward to engage in battle. Roman legionaries advanced in good order. Right before they met the Greeks head-on, they loosed their pylons right into the Greek lines, causing casualties and gaps to form. The Roman legionaries clashed head-on with the Greek phalangites. The fighting was bloody and brutal, with many falling in the initial clash. The more experienced Roman legionaries at the rear advanced forward, pressuring the Greek lines. Simultaneously, the Roman and Greek cavalry engaged each other on the flanks. The initial charges were devastating, favoring the more experienced and better equipped Greek cavalry. The Greek cavalry and elephant reserves maneuver forward to trap the engaged Roman cavalry. While the Romans were losing the battle on the flanks, they were having much success at the center, where their infantry had managed to punch through the Greek lines, leading to Pyrrhus himself riding with his own cavalry reserve to assist the center from completely collapsing. By this point, the Roman cavalry on the flanks had completely collapsed. Most of their mounted soldiers fled from the terror of the elephants, with many being slain in the fighting. Regardless, the Roman infantry at the center were now fully exposed and vulnerable. From the flanks, the Greek elephants and cavalry came charging into the sides and rear of the Roman center, causing complete havoc and disarray within their ranks. The Roman infantry were now surrounded. Their morale was quickly depleting, and they soon began to waver. With their flanks being slaughtered and sensing a complete massacre, the Roman commanders withdrew their legionaries in good order back to their camp. King Pyrrhus of Epirus had gained victory over the Romans once again. Pyrrhus ordered his forces to not give pursuit and let the Romans withdraw. Sources suggest he did this as to not encourage the Romans to turn back around and initiate battle once again. Although Pyrrhus was victorious at Asculum, it did come at the cost of 3,500 of his men, while the defeated Romans lost around 6,000. Upon looking at the destruction and corpses all around him, Pyrrhus famously stated, "If we are victorious in one more battle with the Romans, we shall be utterly ruined." This led to the origin of the term Pyrrhic victory, a victory so costly that they are considered as defeats, a term which is still used in today's modern language.